Hi everyone, it's me. And if you like my channel, please like and subscribe. There's a little notifications bell down in the corner that if you hit that, you'll get notified as to when I go live. Today I'm going, hi Megan. Today I'm going to talk about a subject that's really close to my heart. And of course, that's displacement and homelessness. Um, and I've really lately heard a lot and seen a lot of articles coming out saying that lack of affordable housing is the cause of homelessness. This is really misleading. And this is why. There are many causes of homelessness, but through data sets, and these data sets are large. We look at things globally, nationally, regionally, and we look at all that data and we say, okay, what are the causes? And most times you will find that leading to homelessness, there are traumas beforehand. Now, with affordable housing and lack of affordable housing is leading to prolonged homelessness. In other words, people being displaced and being on the streets for longer. And that's a problem. So even though it isn't a cause, it is definitely a barrier to a solution. Hi, Anton. And here's where I have an issue with the whole thing across the board is that housing and human rights are not merit-based. When affordable housing started coming up was when I started hearing normal people are becoming homeless, regular people, people with jobs. Yeah, it's always been that way. But the rise in homelessness across the board means that you see that more, and people were not aware that there was a working homeless population. Um, hey, Tatium, Chuchu Puente, thank you. I appreciate it. I like the green hair as well. And so with this goes, affordable housing will not solve the problem. And this is why. Because affordable means different things to different people. And it is a human right. So that being said, it's one of the tenets of housing first is that housing is not merit-based. In other words, your right to safe habitat does not depend on your employer, how hard you can work, what you do, how wonderful you are, how much money you make, what kind of car you have, what color you are. It is not that. It is that you are a being on this planet and you deserve basic human rights. That is the solution. And what keeps people healthy and in their housing and in their homes is healthcare. And that is whole health, understanding that our environment impacts our health. Our previous experiences impact our health. Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it. All of these things are solutions, but we cannot cherry pick. For example, for my own situation, I never stayed at a shelter. I walked into a few and I just couldn't do it. But that means that I cannot apply my experience to that. So I have to go and understand that my personal experience is a tiny part of a larger set. In other words, me, myself, I'm going to get the experience talking to others, of course, but I have to look at, when I want to look at the larger set, I have to look at science because there have been many, many disciplines working on this and many, many studies. And it is cheaper, it is more cost effective, it is a human right to have a safe habitat. And so by saying, and that's really the problem I have with words matter. And when we're educating people about displacement and we're educating people to about homelessness, we have to really look at the larger data sets, look at the questions to be asking. Um, for example, I was speaking with a man the other day, and we were talking, and he had lived in Eastern Washington, and he got sick and lost his job, fell on hard times, and as we all do. It just, our circumstances a lot of times will define how far we fall, which is a lot of times familial support, community support. Is there hostile public policies? There's a lot of things that go into this. Um, I I actually don't agree with you, Megan. I'm not going to go into that right now, but I don't agree with that. So I think that we have to look at really evidence-based solutions. And how we do that is looking at data all over the place and understanding that it is a global issue, that human rights are human rights, and that basic sustenance is a human right. And our whole being is our health. And to have healthy communities, we must have healthy individuals. And to have a healthy globe, we must have healthy communities and healthy cities. You see how that ripple effect goes? So, okay, bye. I will. Um, so that's the issue I have with the report saying that lack of affordable housing is the cause, and it is definitely a barrier to a solution. Um, but the thing is basic human rights are a barrier to a solution, and I think that's what we need to get out there. Is that this belief that somehow basic sustenance is based on what you can do. No, you're a being on this planet. And in that, you deserve a right to be healthy, period. It's not merit based, it is human rights and environmental rights. So that's what I wanted to discuss. I know not everybody is going to agree with me, and that's totally okay. But it is definitely something that I believe in whole health. I believe in One Health, and I believe that habitat is a human right and a integral part of healthcare. You cannot really start to become a truly healthy individual when your habitat is in chaos. So, um, okay, I'm going to try to go through the comments now, and later I'll be talking more also about housing first and what that entails. Um, continuum of care. In other words, caring for people throughout. In other words, healthcare and making that readily accessible, and hopefully educating people and garnering an understanding of the different disciplines and how that relates into our health. Um, yes, please. Preble Street, and I don't know, Bill, if I'm pronouncing Preble Street right, so I'm just kind of like throwing it out there. Um, yeah, community savings it is so much cheaper to to believe in human rights and promote that and give people basic sustenance than it is to perpetuate the cycle as we're doing and watching it balloon into a bigger problem. We literally have people, whole towns underwater in the Midwest right now. Mozambique, my heart goes out to, I can't even imagine. This is epic. We are, people are becoming displaced at epic proportions, and we will be affected. And right now we have to understand that we all have a right to safety, and we are all, every single one of us, impacted by the choices of others and by the impact that others are having. And so and we're making an impact as well. And think about that. So I Tatum. Neither of my grandparents had a college education. Yeah. Okay. Well, yes. Okay. They were there. There's yeah. Okay. Home ownership is really a whole different. I'm really not at this juncture. Home ownership, that's not a human right. Basic sustenance is. So, I mean, that's really a completely different issue. So, I'm not going to discuss that right now. But cost of living, that's another thing. Cost of living has increased while wages have not. It's it's really insane. And just I want to throw out there too. Uh, if you see homeless people and you're like, I don't see anybody working. Well, guess what? The reason you're not seeing them is because they're at work. Just gonna throw that out there. That was Logan Place. Oh, hi, Andrew. That was Logan Place. They now have 2 others running in the city with staffing to help with residents that have needs. That's wonderful. That's awesome. I'm gonna look that up. Thank you. And just so everybody knows, Bill has put up 2 links, and they're to Preble Street. And honestly, just an amazing, amazing program. And there's a lot of information there. So. Tiny houses, but no legal place to park them. Remember that tiny house you're planning on building for yourself under the bridge? Yeah, absolutely, John. And that was, when I had gotten those boards and cut them and everything. The basic understanding was that no matter what the work you put into, until you have basic housing, it's all temporary. You have to be okay with that being destroyed or gone or taken. You are in an extremely vulnerable state. RVs and cars are not meant for inhabitation for long periods of time. Tiny homes, trailer houses, they're all very hard to move, find legal residences for. Once they're a certain age, you can't move them. There's a lot of things that go into that, and there's a lot of laws, and there's a lot of zoning laws, and there are reasons for that. And not everybody is suited to a transient lifestyle. And when we talk about the tiny home villages and things like that, we need to understand that that is temporary shelter. I'm not going to call it temporary housing because many of these places are just sheds, and then they have communal like porta potties and communal showers. Not communal. I mean, they can take a shower on their own, but it's for everybody. Okay. But John, honestly, I was okay with it being temporary, and I thought that if anything, I would gain some skill sets that I didn't have before. So I kind of looked at that as a project, and then I got housed, and it's wonderful. It's being and having a home has changed me in so many beautiful ways. And I am so absolutely grateful. And it has given me an understanding, a deep, true understanding. And I had that kind of understanding before, but it reinforced my understanding that no matter what, we have to have grace towards the world, because none of us get to where we are without some sort of help, without some sort of team on our side. Or and I felt alone, many times like I was alone. But the truth is, I wasn't alone. I was just facing challenges. And that feels very lonely sometimes. But in the end, the world has shown kindness. And I think that that's what we forget, is that all of us have received a hand up. And it's time for us to understand that, to reinforce a belief that every human being deserves human rights. It's a thing. We treat others like you want to be treated. You want human rights, treat others that way too. So, Bruce, my mother is looking for a place. I live in a red 77 Camaro. I drive by your place every day. I park in Alki at night. Okay, all right. You've been in your car for a year now? Man, that's hard. I do have to ask. Uh, okay, all right. You're number 5 to get it. I was just going to ask you if you'd done coordinated entry and got on some housing lists. That's awesome. Okay, you're number 5. Keep pushing is all I can say. Yeah, hopefully, do you have a social worker through your medical provider? Okay, I'm waiting. If you have a social worker through your medical provider, see if, okay, yeah, please get through your medical provider and all of the different, if you have a bad heart, you're probably going to a cardiologist and if the kidney is a renal specialist, I'm guessing. They have social workers, okay? And they will help you do the things because you have those issues. They will help you get through it and help you find transitional housing, things like that. Social workers are imperative, and I'm really disappointed that they haven't referred you as of yet to a social worker through the hospital. So if you message me, maybe we can get on that and talk. And if you are actually like so close to me, so I will get together. I'm always baking, so I can give you some baked goods and stuff, and I have some clothing and stuff if you need it. I know it's very difficult living in a vehicle because you can't have too many, things and supplies, but and maybe I can lead you to some resources too. So just get a hold of me, DM me. You can do that on Facebook, Being Camp Mom, and you can send me a message through there. Um, I, I, People shouldn't be forced to live in temporary housing that can be taken away at any moment. That's a problem with being in an environment where the only option is to rent indefinitely. Okay, yeah, but here's the issue that I'm having with home ownership, renting, all this other stuff, is that in the end, you're right, housing should not be taken from people, but to a level. Everyone deserves human rights, which is basic, safe, and stable habitat. But if you want to get a mansion, you can work for that. Should you have 2 mansions? No, that's hoarding of resources and life-saving resources. There's ethical questions as well. But there are people that can't even rent and they still deserve basic stable housing. That's the right. Human rights, that's the right, is to have basic stable housing. When you go into, does everybody have the right to home ownership? There's a lot of things that come with home ownership. And many, many people are not able, nor do they have the financial stability to be able to take care of all the problems that come with home ownership. And right now we're in a crisis of epic proportions. We are having cyclones hit, polar freezes, hurricanes, volcano in Hawaii. We are lands. It's a mess. And right now we are having whole towns destroyed. Homeowners done. And there's just really, what are their options? If we promote that basic stable housing is a right, then we can get these people into safe and stable housing. Can we get them into home ownership? Probably not. And so um, that's what we're trying to change, is that permanent comes with ownership. Everybody should have safe and stable habitat, permanent. It's not merit based. It's not merit based. You don't get to earn the right to safety. You already have it. We just have to make sure that that's enforced. Um, basic, stable, permanent housing. Yes, John, absolutely, absolutely. Um, Bruce, I get a check $770 a month to live on. Right, and that is not enough to rent a place, nor is it enough to own a place. At least not in the area that most areas. Now, there are some very rural areas that you are able to do that. I get that. And here's the issue with the very rural areas: resources are also very slim. And if you are disabled, if you have some other issues going on, those may not be the best places and the best care for you. So that is an issue with getting very little to live on. And that's where it comes into where affordable means very different things to very many different people. So we have to really, instead of talking affordable, we need to talk about housing for all, housing as a human right, housing as healthcare, not housing as an earned thing. It isn't. You have a right to be safe and healthy. You have that right. Whether people try to take it away or say that you don't, you have a right to be safe and healthy. The only thing, finally, many states have finally received the HUD allocations from the budget. I'm really worried too, though, Bill, about that getting cut. I know that a lot of programs are really waiting with bated breath um, to see how this is all going to turn out. They're in danger right now, and a lot of that as well is the stressors of more and more displacement coming due to extreme conditions. So, uh, greedy rich people. Um, I think greed is. I think we need to accept that all of us are greedy to a point, and that how we fight that is by talking about it and understanding it so we can combat it within ourselves and within others. What are our basic intentions and the things that we want? Is that harming, are our actions harming others? I think we need to look deeply at that. I don't think it needs to be a passing look. I think we need to really, really study ourselves to see if, you know, our actions are having an impact on others. Like, for example, I still think about every time I've littered, and the impact that I had. Did I kill an animal? Did I, you know, but I led to the problem at some point. I mean, I was a dumb teen and I did stupid stuff, and it is what it is. And all I can do is look at that behavior and go, no, because now I understand the ramifications of such. And I think that's what we just got to do. Um, and yes, Thomas, I am having a good week. Um, I'm actually getting a lot done and feeling good. Feeling good. Got some baking done and got it. Gypsy had downstairs had some people with her getting in, in from the outdoors. So I can't eat all the baking. I love baking. I do. And Bill had actually sent me this cake turntable, so I was like really excited to use it. So I had to make a cake, and it turned out awesome. The cookies I tried to make gluten free, and I do have to say I got to work on that recipe. But I can't eat it, so I just sent most of it downstairs, and they were all grateful. You've been waiting for 6.5 years now. Yeah, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. It's just unacceptable to have anybody out for. The thing is displacement's going to happen. There are going to be extreme events happening that are going to wipe people's houses out. We cannot stop that. But what we can do is make sure that it isn't for any prolonged length of time and they're immediately into housing because it's a human right. So, um, BRAP has you pay 50% of income to rent, but if you have no income, there is no difference in Section 8. All in Maine were funded this past year for renewal on new projects as well. Awesome. That's really wonderful. Um, yeah, it's just a study of, you know, really the impact that I want to have, and I want that impact to be as good as possible. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But all I can do is work on that and just really try to compound thought and knowledge and empathy and compassion into that. Yeah, you're 60 years old. Yeah, and I will have to say, many seniors are affected, and it's heartbreaking. And it's heartbreaking for everybody. It lowers you die earlier. There's no nice way to say that. You die earlier if you were exposed and out on the streets. I did make another batch of avocado brownies, Kate, and I do have to say, I'm straight gonna have to use sugar. They are definitely not sweet enough without some sort of like sugar in there. They just they just like really had like a bitter taste to them. So I am going to keep on that recipe, and I'm going to get it. I am going to get it so much. Um, all your stuff is in storage. Yeah. I'm glad you are able to at least have a storage unit. That doesn't help really anything, and but I am happy that you are able to keep some stuff. Um, I am lucky to live in a project-based affordable housing for the last 8 years. Do your best with care and empathy. Yeah, I try to. Delridge Community Center has free shower and a gym. Really, I did not know that. That is really cool. What I would like you to do, Bruce, is after the my feed is ended, if you'd put that in comments, please, and maybe a link to that. Same thing, Bill, because sometimes people won't get these comments on their when they're watching this. If you could go into comments and post those links, that would be awesome. The suffer 55 it is growing the fastest, yeah. And we have very little community support, and a lot of times there's very little familial support. So I'm gonna try them, the brownies. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to work on the recipe, but I'm pretty good at that, and I like a challenge, so it's awesome. All right, everybody, that's what I wanted to discuss. That's what I wanted to talk about. I appreciate hearing your respectful responses, because otherwise I'm just gonna block you. And just have a beautiful day. It's springtime, and oh, I have to say the cherry blossoms are blooming on my street. That just makes me so happy. Um, they let everyone to free shower 1 to 5 weekdays. Okay, that's awesome. There's also urban rest stops too, but I don't know if there is one in West Seattle. But get a hold of me through Being Camp Mom, and I will talk to you more. Okay, everyone, sending out my love. I will talk to you later, and bye.